You got
A quick.
Okay, we're good.
Oh. Look, I'm just trying to get this one done today.
You gotta get to Vegas.
That's right. That's right. I think we're just missing Rita. I haven't heard from her. We'll get started. Okay.
Looks like we have 10 right now.
11. 1, 2, 3. Oh,
Here's Rita.
12 with me. Yep. We're good. We're good to go.
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. We got a full house today. We do have a lot of discussion topics, but the goal is to get us rolling today, get us out of here. This is not going to be one of those meetings like we're on there. There is a lot of faces in here, and there's a couple new ones. So while we're kind of settling in, if we can kind of go around and just do a quick introduction, just say your name and I guess what business you represent. You want to start?
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Nikki, chair of the bid here, and I have our back salon.
Aaron Roth, City of Eau Claire Neighborhood Services.
Haley Harder, City of Eau Claire Neighborhood Services.
Steve Harmon, John Group.
Erin Love, Executive Director of Becky, and I own Think About You and Property. Kate Felton, I am the Executive Strategic Communication Coordinator for Becky, and I own Eau Claire Outdoors Barstow.
It's fancy.
Casey Stevens, State Farm Insurance. Commercial first, and I have a comment. General bits and that's some real for property owners.
Angel White, Street Director.
Afro. Betty. The club. Have a $100,000 church.
Stephanie Berg and I run all, Stephanie Carter. And the operations manager for the Becky program. Policy, the cafe. Still nice to call in for that kid. The university.
Gary Rentals, high school.
Dave Strobel, business owner, property owner, and exec committee member.
Private Smith, interim of the attorney. And Janessa Stromberger, City Attorney's Office.
Okay, and we'll get started. I just want to say, I know there's a lot of packet items. I'll try to keep this organized for you guys. Hopefully after today, we've got just some actions in the next couple meetings that we need to get over, but hopefully you'll have a lot less paperwork in your packets. So my apologies to that. We're just trying to include everything for discussion, but this will hopefully, siphon down a little bit. So the first thing that I wanted to mention, so number 2, agenda item number 2, public comment period. I don't know if you guys can speak to this, but this is something that's newly being added to our agenda that was apparently supposed to be here all along and hasn't. So do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So several years ago, City Council passed a resolution that required all the city's boards, committees, commissions to have a public comment period on their agenda, and somehow the bid agenda got overlooked. So our apologies for that, but we realized it recently, so you'll see it appearing on your agendas. It's an opportunity for the public to come in. You just give them 2 or 3 minutes to speak, up to usually a total of like 15 or 20 minutes. Most of the time it's not used, so probably you won't see anybody, but if you have something, it does still have to be related to bid business. So it's not like anybody could come in and just start ranting about, something that's unrelated to the work that you do, but it is an opportunity for the public to come in and share their opinions with you.
I don't think we've ever had it done or seen anybody show up, but
Would it typically be number 2 on the agenda, or would it be towards the end of the agenda?
For the board commissions, we usually put it as number 2, but yeah, council is at the end of the meeting.
so nothing more to that. You guys will just start seeing that on the agenda, and it really doesn't mean anything to me unless somebody shows up, and the likelihood of that should be pretty low. So moving on, we're already on to previous meeting minutes. Just have that in your packets. Any comments, questions, concerns? Yes, Dave.
Not a biggie, but under 4B, the motion by Travis was to have the exec work on this deck and come on together. And we sort of didn't get to that because our meeting was so busy. So we tried to work on it by email, I guess, through Aaron, so not to violate Open's meetings, but I didn't get a chance to get back to you, although I have changes. to go through.
Okay.
It's just that.
And yeah, and we'll kind of get to that as well. And this, I did want to comment on that as well. It was for us to work with Decky on the language of the contract. And there's kind of a two-part. The first part is the MOU, which is what we want to focus on today. The next part would be the contract, which would have more verbiage, and that would give exec an opportunity to work on it a little bit more in detail. So, but yeah, I did see that on there as well. Anybody else? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to pass on previous meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Second? Lois? Awesome. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Any opposed? Great, motion passed. Moving on, current financials. You guys have a couple different documents in there. Anybody want to start this out? There's a couple things I've got to say, so I'll let anybody else speak first, otherwise. I'll go. Okay, one thing about the financials I wanted to talk to you guys about, and this is something you'll see from our previous meeting minutes. We did talk about, there's been a new water service charge that we have been questioning for a little while. You're gonna see that that's what the object line 6252 says water service Barstow Street. We've always in our budget had a line item for stormwater, and we've always had enough to cover that. And then suddenly we've been falling well under that amount. So we've questioned this. We've gotten included in your packet all these utility bills with water charges. I would like to open that up to city to maybe help discuss that for us. Anybody want to take?
Dave, you want me to start?
Okay, cool. Thank you, guys.
All right, so for accounting, water bills, it's a water account that is actually city associated. You know, it's not the bids bill. Am I saying this right? It's a city account. You guys pay it kind of on the back end, so accounting takes it out of your budget. Always has. And if you look back on that, on the financial, that actually goes back to 2023. So it's been coming out on the back end. Not, you guys don't budget for it though. So, and you don't see the water bills, is that correct, Dave?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. Yeah, we've never seen it reflected other than probably a couple years ago. It was the first time I remember seeing it.
The stormwater?
Not
No, the
stormwater,
actual
these
water
are discharge
service.
charges, yeah.
Because you have water service for the actual irrigation system.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you guys have always been paying it, but it's been coming out of your budget on the back end.
You mean like out of reserves at the end of the year?
Reserves or the money that you don't use or that they don't use. Correct, Dave?
That's my understanding.
What about the electric with some of the trees that we light? The city always covers the cost of electric because it would have cost more for them to like meter it. This is just very new, I think, to the whole board, and I'm only speaking from my experience as chair and being on the board for over a decade. It feels just like maybe we need more transparency around these things. If there's more things coming out of reserve at the end of the year that the board doesn't know about, we should probably be sure they.
Well, I would say for water bills, I think it probably would be good for you to see the bills, budget for them, know what they are. As far as consistency, City Hall pays the water bill for the employees here for the water utility. We pay $26,000 a year for water, Parkland and Haymarket Plaza. So it is an appropriate bill to pay for. There isn't, when we were going to Haymarket Plaza, I thought, well, since it's a city thing, we wouldn't have to pay for water. But with PSC regulations, if you use water, whether you're the same entity that creates it or not, it all has to be accounted for.
I understand that. I guess it's just, is it a big charge or is the city covering it for the fact that they invest
I think it's an
$52,000?
appropriate bid charge right now,
Yeah.
because it's for the system.
Sure.
And there aren't any other charges to bid at this point. We're getting, we have almost a full position that is not being charged in the bid for any time. So I think this is an appropriate charge.
Is it metered?
Yes.
It is metered.
Yep.
My question is, I sort of think it's illegal. I don't think the city has the authority to take money out of the, segregated account of authority from the full board.
The financial, how you do that, I think is something that needs to be addressed. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would think it would be.
Although I'm not a CPA, but I would think that you would want to see the bill, like I get a bill and you get a bill.
Well, I think we have to give the city authority to take money out of the account if they've been taken out of the account for all those years. So, authority, which it sounds like they have, that's questionable.
I was just gonna ask you from future, or from, past, so this, I mean, this feels very related to landscaping, and that we now can get our money from the street off of our spigots. What was previous to that? Were they getting the water from the city and not being charged for it, or were they always being charged for it?
I'm not sure. Or if there's an audit that found it, or if there's a rate case, or if it was just never put down. There's all sorts of inconsistencies that we come across, whether it's parking or water or assessing that this may be something that just, it was installed, it was never set up and built spot later. Sometimes people, if they do construction on their house, and it's not cost assessing until the next assessment cycle.
Okay.
For the better. I don't have an explanation other than that.
Okay, Rita?
How are we reconciling our account? Like, wouldn't we see that money is coming out, whether on a monthly or an annual basis, but wasn't authorized? Or that we weren't at least made aware of? Sorry, I'm struggling to understand.
Well, I think-
it's coming out of our account without anyone.
Yeah, I think that's the
The
question.
reserve
right now.
accounts have been confusing and are still not settled even from last year.
Okay.
So Dave has been digging into this for a while, along with accounting, and cannot find an accurate answer on like our reserve balance for multiple years in a row. This could be one of the reasons they don't match, but also, they haven't even given us the reserve balance from 2024 for this year yet, so.
Got it.
But that's usually done in March, end of March.
But if this has been coming out since 2023, wouldn't we have reconciled 2023 books to see what was taken up? Okay, might ask me out of your question.
That's a logical question.
Okay. But-
Yeah. I guess we never got an answer when we had questioned this. I think this is the first meeting that we've actually seen invoices and known.
And I
Kind of
think
timeline.
what it speaks to is, a year and a half ago, starting the conversation about, what does Becky do? What does the city do? What does the bids do? And where's that triangle of MOU, right? So when a tree gets hit in our bid, does the bid pay for it or does the city? We kind of worked through that problem. And then we have the electric box that got taken out, right? Who pays for that? I think this is just kind of a new one of those to add to the list of like, there should be a greater conversation on how either the bid's informed of what their responsibilities are, the investments they make and what that means in comparison. So even like not charging Aaron, for the bid, that's very kind of the city not to do that, but in part that was kind of an agreement, right, for the bid investing $200,000 annually into this trip. And I think the other issue with the landscape is that years ago, there were street crews that took care of kind of downtown, taking care of weeds and stuff. And so the bids pick up more so that the district looks good. I think it just needs to be itemized. So the bids are very well aware when they make their budget, they need to know that it's coming out so they don't do more programming if they don't.
I think that's maybe where I'm kind of feeling too, is if this is landscape and it's because we're using more water and maybe the city used to cover it because they had crews that did it, but now we're being charged for it. It'd be nice to know that and see that more itemized. And maybe, is it a charge that's supposed to go on our landscaper or is it a bid responsibility? I mean, that's maybe another conversation that we have to have. If that is in fact what this water bill is from. Dave?
I think, that would be a good effort to sit down with all four bids and get the emotions of each bid is a little bit different.
Yeah.
With what they have and just clarify those responsibilities, even the fact of when we're doing, street construction and we're in there, we put conduit in, it's just part of the construction project. And modify that, so when we're doing Grand Avenue, or we're doing Main Street, or we're doing the other ones, yep, engineering got the street project, they're going to do it, the city will cover. Kind of put in, it covers, like on that, your block Barstow, it covered the cost of the lights and for the city, I think, put the kind of the wider panel.
Yeah.
Because it was such a minimal cost under the CIP project. And then who does the ongoing meetings going further, where their risk management to jump in to help, like what if the person would have had auto insurance that hit the electrical box, our risk management would have put a claim against their insurance for that box, but they didn't have insurance.
Right.
City self-insured, so go with parks box and our pays for it on their budget.
Yeah.
So there was, quite a few of it.
I feel like this year we ran into a lot of little issues that are like riding this really gray line of, is it our responsibility? Is it city? And there's a larger conversation that we've had that we want to sit down with Stephanie and all of the bids and work out whose responsibility is what. So we don't keep running into this. And so maybe this just feels like another one that we have to kind of add to that list and figure out. So moving on from that, anybody else have any other questions from Patrick?
We have to amend our budget, and so we're covering that type of expense for next year
Right.
versus going over and having to pull it from reserves, which is going to take a pull.
Can we amend that like at any part of the year?
You could put money from reserves.
At
Yeah, I
any
think
time,
you can manage
yeah.
it at any time with the 234.
Maybe let's find out what the responsibility where that lies first. Yeah.
Yeah, on this water bill from, 4 to July 1st, being, about $950, 987. You're looking at, you're gonna budget at least 2,500 of it, say, about.
Mm-hmm.
With the 2023. Did you have the 2023 expenditure for water?
I have 1149.70.
Doesn't say it. Wasn't there like a 3-year on,
13.
Oh, there. Okay.
Is part of the reason the bill from May to July is so large, is things leaking? Is that part of it? I mean, that,
Probably. I'm guessing.
We have had a meter, I don't know, but I have some go out there, meter charge, before you meter back down, beginning of the year. It's not over.
Right.
This year on it.
how much was that bill? Because the last 3 years, they've been pretty consistently for overall the year, 1209, 1353, and this year we're at
so this one
1175.
is 5/125 to 7/31. It's $907.
Yeah,
The other ones are significantly higher. So that's what I'm asking.
Mm.
It's- Basically, it's leaking all over the place, which is why the bill is so high.
Well, it was,
Well,
remember?
right, I get that part, but that's, is that the reason why the bill is?
If there's a leak, just like if you have a leaky toilet in your house, they're gonna be adjustments for the leak department, so we can look into that.
Okay. That's a good point. Really good point. Yeah, so this just seems like something that we need to kind of continue the conversation with, for sure.
Maybe to check into the ability of the city to pull money from segregated common water and water.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, I pulled up the statute for it. When I moved away from it, but let me see if I can find it again. The city can pull, to reimburse the municipality for appropriations. So it could be considered a service that the municipality provided, and would be able to reimburse itself that way. It's allowable by statute, but we don't know that exactly what was going on, so I think it's worth investigating.
Thank you.
Any other questions on finances? Financial report here. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Landscaping and maintenance.
Yep. Yep.
Is that, for the planting or?
Yes.
for planting?
That's planting, watering, change outs. Yep.
Is that high? Watering,
That's what we budget annually, is that 52. Right now, we are showing negative. I did want to speak to that. If you guys remember at the last meeting, because of the irrigation problem, and just, so we're still trying to figure out with the seasons, if you've got a really rainy season, you water less. If it's a very dry season, you water more. And all those things take time, and all those things obviously charge more. So we had asked for a motion, I think it's in your previous meeting minutes, that we could spend up to 5,000 to cover landscaping for different seasonal problems that we run into. But also we had made some motions to cover irrigation. We have paid for a portion of that. You guys are gonna see that number go a little bit more into the negative, but we did cover this with motions to be able to pull from reserves to cover our problems that we've had this year. And just to speak to that, we did sit down with the city and what we had gotten figured out with them for the irrigation issue that we ran into. They did cover the premium lawn service. They paid that and we paid the hand watering bills. So we split the problem kind of half and half, which was really nice, a really nice effort to see, being that we don't have anything written down anywhere as to who's in charge of what. So I thank them for that.
Is the irrigation been fixed now?
Yes. We might run into more problems, and that's why this MOU is gonna be so important, because we might have a whole system that needs a change out at some point, because it is, 13 years old at this point, so.
A lot of the tree roots are growing into the controller
Yeah.
boxes and the irrigation boxes and destroying them, so, it's possibly need an upgraded system.
Yeah.
Whether this time to ask or not, when did it cost to fix it? We had such a large discussion about it last
Mhm.
time. Did we get a deal?
You did, the city covered it.
Premium, I think was it under 2?
Came to like 2,800.
2,800?
They had initially said 2,000. They did find more issues down closer to the bridge, so they fixed those as well.
Yeah.
So,
We send a thank you note to the city.
Well, they're right here, you can thank them. It was a really nice effort to see that they helped us out with that, because it was kind of an astronomical problem that had to be fixed. I mean, otherwise everything that we paid for all year long went to the wayside. So yeah, it was nice.
Is Jen still watering plants?
I think she ended like last week, maybe?
Yeah.
But she hasn't,
Yes.
I know this was the debate here, have you been installing those sprinkler systems because if the person's still watering? Why are we spending an additional $50,000?
So she's watering.
The pots. Yeah, go ahead.
The 20 pots that you have on Graham Avenue. She also has to fill the reserve tank and overwater the adopt planter, to establish a strong root system. And then when the irrigation was out this year, she was watering the planting beds as well, and that was the issue they were talking about, when they had to turn those off. But
Is that part of our charges, or is it cheaper to pay her versus installing a new one? You understand? what I'm
From the
saying?
water.
Like, over the long run, the better just to allocate $10,000 to her versus.
I know what you're saying, yeah. I think we've had that discussion, like, yeah, I mean, what if we just do hand watering and screw the irrigation system, and it's hours more time? It would cost us astronomically more to pay her.
yeah, when
And fix
we
it.
had the previous landscaper and everything was hand watered, including the hanging basket, you guys were spending between $10,000 and $12,000 a year just on him going out to water. So it's
I also think our budget was less than what we're currently paying. Not to say that we're not getting
Right,
paying
right.
for a buck, yeah.
yeah, it
We're
was
getting
about,
paying for a buck, but we
Yeah.
have spent tremendous more money on landscaping.
I also just want to remind you guys that plant costs have more than doubled, in the last 2 years with prices changing. It's true, it's true. And then the other piece with that, with the plant costs going up, because we didn't have everything set up 2 years ago, Jen wasn't able to order flowers. That was 2 years ago.
Yep.
Remember? So she had to buy them later in the season. So you guys, she's hoping to get her orders in, for February to get the lower price range. But, yeah, everything costs.
Dave?
On that subject, and because you talked about it here, and it may come up, in our MOUs and all that kind of stuff, but, on the lighting committee, I get charged for exactly a strand of lights. On the landscape committee, are you paying her only for the receipts she gives you for the plants, or are you giving her a budgeted amount, like you get $5,000 to do this much? And then she could potentially spend 2,000, and we're still giving her 5,000, or we pay for exact expenses.
So
That's my.
So for the lighting committee, I think it's a little different because you're purchasing the agreement they have with you is that you buy the strands of light. We're not seeing the wholesale cost that he's paying for them. We're seeing what they're charging us. So we're assuming that's the cost of light strands. I mean, this is a capitalist economy. And so I like to, at the landscape meeting, we talked about this, like, when you do hair, are you charging me exactly the amount of shampoo that you use and itemizing that on my invoice? Or are you just charging me for the service of doing what you need to do? I think it would be unfair to expect a contractor like Jen to have to provide you receipts for the wholesale cost she's paying for each plant when she's driving to get them. She's storing them, maintaining them, getting them prepped. There's cost involved with just running a business, and you know that. So the lighting could be separate, but I do know that the lighting strand cost you're seeing is not the wholesale cost, because I talked to both of them about it. So there's an increase there too. It's just what they're telling you each strand costs. But then they're charging you for the labor and the time and the lift, just like Jen, right?
Per hour.
Yeah.
It just, okay, but the difference, and I think you're beating around the bush on that. The answer is, yeah, she bids for a certain amount of plants at $5,000. She may get them for 2, but you're calling her a wholesaler and we're gonna pay her the full 5. Instead of
She's
just,
not billing you that
just the receipts that she's paying for the plants. That's, I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that is asking that, but
You're saying we should probably have an open book or open bid process? Because we have done that. I mean.
Well,
I like
is it
make
fair?
sure we
We're
do-
paying her hourly, we're paying her hourly to drive, we'll get them right. And probably, and I'm just wondering if we're just paying her for what she's spending on the plants, or if we're giving her extra for those plants.
Isn't
That's
she
the
pay a
question.
flat fee for the services she provides?
Correct. And they have a plant budget so that she keeps that separate for the plant budget.
I think it's,
If anything, Jen's losing money here.
yeah,
Like, she is working more, she's taking out of the service costs and the hours she's doing because she's buying more plants with this specific plant budget you set
Yeah.
up. And it's not even enough. You know, we had diseased plants she has to replace. You have people vandalizing. So if you give her $5,000 and you just want to use her plants, the rest should be used however she wants. I think it's unfair, again, to ask her to provide a receipt if she has to run to Menards and grab one flower, and then it costs her $4.99 and she's giving you that receipt, because right now she's not set up to bill you for gas. I mean, I guess I'm not. Does anyone on the board have feelings about this besides Dave? Because I feel like this is very
I feel something, since landscaping is getting so big and expanding to the other bids, I feel like something needs to be done to make it a salary position for her. So the plant budget, that yes, we will buy the plants for $4.99, but that extra money where she would have charged the plants should go towards giving her a salary. I think she would be for it. It would be a more stable yearly wage for her. But it's too much work for her. And then so weather dependent, irrigation dependent, I think she just needs to be salaried.
Well, and to be fair, she has not upcharged you for the plants. The city set in place that basically she wouldn't be able to have the bid unless she provided those receipts. So at this point, she hasn't charged.
I also wanted to note, you know, we did put out an RFP and we had discussed a couple different options, and they were much higher, the other bids, and they were to 20 to, let's say they offered us 20 hours a week for watering. Well, that was gonna satisfy that one price, but what if you had a hot week? What if suddenly you needed to water more? Like, were we gonna hold them to the 20 hours? Or, you know, the cost was going to likely increase on that, where Jen is not really charging us for that. I mean, she's getting the work done. Yeah. Right. Weather is a very unknown. Yeah. It's not like lighting a tree. I mean,
What she's getting paid for.
Yeah.
That's why I just think it needs to become a bigger thing for her to be
Mhm.
salaried on it.
And if we remember back when we used Green Oasis to do it, they came down quarterly. They chopped our plants in half. They did not bloom for years. There was no manager on site overseeing it. It was some summer temp workers doing it. And we made the switch very consciously to have someone who was available to keep track of things. I hope you guys can remember 3, 4, 5 years ago when we had these neck high on Graham Avenue. I mean, the work she's doing is incredible, for a really good price. I just, I don't need to convince Jen, I just think you guys, landscape committee should probably take this on more, but, certainly I don't want to always come down negative. Let's look at the good things that are happening. $52,000 to have this immaculate programming now. We get people lining up taking selfies in front of the planters this summer.
Right.
Because they're so amazing. The West Grand Avenue is adding planters now. North Barstow is adding more. Water Street did landscaping for the first time in a decade because your street looks so good. I just want you guys to remember that like, this money is getting well spent in your.
Nice. All right. Yep, and I think, yes, I think this is a more appropriate conversation for landscape committee. And if there is discussions or thoughts or comments or concerns or ways we can do it differently, I would say we have to handle that at landscape meeting and not here. You guys are okay with that? I don't know when our next landscape meeting is, but just let me know.
I would move approval of the budget.
Do I have a second? Travis, okay, I have just one quick discussion item that I wanted to mention. The reflection of the DECI check for the adoptive planner money is not included anywhere. So,
As income?
yes. We had about, what, $3,000 come in
Like
from
34,
Yeah.
35 or something.
from adoptive planner, and that is not reflected in our landscape budget. So we wouldn't actually be showing negative right now if we had that money.
Yeah, so the check is cashed.
Check is
Does anyone
cash.
in the city know how that gets rectified or is it at the end of the year? That's right, you just want it. There was a payment from Becky for the adoptive planter money that we collected from businesses, and then it was written out to the city of Eau Claire with all parts of the landscaping. But she's not seeing it reflected in.
Yeah,
I believe it's gonna be at the end of the year with, like, she had the charges for the mulch, like for the delivery of the mulch, that's not reflected as well. That's actually showing in that to put it negative, along with the hand watering, which is actually coming out of reserves. And from my understanding, all that's gonna be moved at the end of the year to come out of reserves.
And then the check will be included.
Yes.
okay.
The city's charging us to deliver the mulch.
No, you paid for a service for that.
Mhm. Okay, that's the only, I just want to get that in the discussion. We have a motion on the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion passed. Moving on, I am going to turn this over to our legal. So as you guys know, we had an amended agenda. There was the two agenda items, number 5 and 6 for the operating plan and the bylaws. And there was some rules that we didn't catch or make or timing. So if I can have you speak to those and why this was amended?
Yeah, so actually, Dave gets the credit for that one. He and I talked on Friday morning, and in looking at the bylaws, the way that they're written, they have to be, any changes have to be presented to you at least 5 days prior to your meeting, so that's why they went out on Friday. And then it has to be discussed at that first meeting and then up for action at a subsequent meeting. So that's why the agenda was amended, just to reflect that you won't be acting on them today, but they are available for you to understand and discuss, with a vote scheduled at your next meeting.
Okay, yeah. And just before we get into it, we are gonna be putting together an ad hoc meeting, I think either November 6th or 10th. So you guys will be seeing an email about that. It'd be a very quick meeting just to vote on this.
Are we not doing it
Wednesday,
on Wednesday? 6th
right?
of the 10th is not a Wednesday.
There's not a Wednesday available. Does it have to be on a
Don't
Wednesday?
we have several members here that can't make it if it's not a Wednesday? We need
We'll probably have to put out a,
10
Doodle
10 votes to change the bylaw.
Yep.
We should try to do it with you, probably couldn't be able to do it.
so we have a couple dates in mind and we'll put out a doodle poll and see what works for everybody. Does that work? for everyone? We'll just see who's available and
You
when.
need the most people you can get.
Yes.
Do you want us to put out a doodle poll?
Would you mind?
I think you can follow the line.
Yep. 6th or 10th were some days that were wide open for my schedule this short notice, so that can work for anybody else, that's great. We need to find another day, we'll find another day. We'll start with those two. But anyway, so is there, Dave, take it on. Do you want to carry this one?
All right, so, I know I saw a bunch of, emails that wanted red line copies of some of the stuff. We can get you that now, but I'm not doing it, but we can get you that if you really want to go through it. What I thought I'd do is just go through quick, highlights of what we changed on this, the operating plan. And then you can all ask questions. I went through this at one with Janessa, the exec committee went through the whole thing as well. We're pretty comfortable with where we're at, but there's a big question, one that I'm not happy with, but, let's just run through it quick and then Janessa can comment on my concern for the board. We just went through and we had the North Barstow bid, we didn't really follow theirs totally, quite honestly, I took, a lot of stuff down Sable that worked on, and then some of our stuff. We added a bunch of stuff in, which they could follow, but basically, the projects and activities is more aligned with what we do now, we've got landscaping, lighting, all that kind of stuff, that's in there. Anticipated the bid May contract with Decky, the big thing about changing this is it allows us to contract for services, which our other one didn't. However, as you'll see in the MOU, the city is, and we'll comment on this later, but we can still, without changing the operating plan, we could still contract with Decky, just that they would be then subject to city purchasing policy, which they really don't want to be. So anyway, we put language in here for that. And the big thing is, let's see, the operating board. This operating plan refers to the bid bylaws as an addendum. So on under number 8, operating board responsibilities and structures. Number 1, it says the board will consist of 15 members recommended, big key word, as described in the attached bylaws. In the attached bylaws, under Article 4, it says the board will consist of 15 members and recommends the following composition: 9 members who are accessible property owners for bid purposes within the district. That's what our bylaws say as an addendum to this. State statutes say the majority have to be either property owners or business owners for Steve caught that. So if we're following this, it says we're going to recommend. It doesn't say the city council is going to appoint them. So that differs from our current operating plan, which of course was approved by legal and everything back in the day, but we've been operating under it for 40 plus years. That clearly states the board will consist of 15 members, 9 of which shall be property owners. We don't get the shall in ours, we get the recommend word. So, but Janessa can talk to some of that and maybe make people more comfortable with that. That's kind of was one of my sticking points on that, but otherwise we just add in here the way we operate now. We get legal advice number 8 under section 8. We do get to potentially contract for some legal advice with some conditions. We added number 9, the city role. What will the city provide the bids? That's got all that stuff in there. Plan approval process, that's pretty similar. We can review annually, we don't have to change it. So we can just stick with what we have. We're not required to submit it. We're also not required to submit it at project time or any particular time to be submitted. So that's pretty much it on the operating plan. You all get a chance to read through it for the next meeting. So, Janessa, did you want to comment on? We had Dave had concerns about. I thought they should have grandfathered us in with the 9 property owners. It's important for, I think, me and some others that the property owners are listed down here because they're paying the special assessments. But the property owners also have the right at some point in time, if they don't like how things are going, 50% of them can decide to get rid of the bid. If the council doesn't follow our recommendations, but Janessa had some other things to add to that feels like we shouldn't be so concerned about that.
So statute says that a majority of board members shall own or occupy real property in the business improvement district. So the language of the recommendation is trying to be more consistent with that statutory requirement, just that the minimum be either owners or occupants within the district. You could recommend that all 15 members be property owners if that's what you want to do. And city council has passed 2 resolutions related to bids this year. And one of them adopts language that the advisory committee on appointments put forward, which is a group of 3 city council members. That, excuse me, that says that they will give great weight to the bid recommendations as far as to who will be those members. So, they passed that, there's never been a time to my knowledge that a majority have not been property owners, and I don't foresee council looking to change that. And you can certainly voice your concern to council, if you sense that, that they might have an interest in changing that, you can certainly speak up on that point. And you can continue to make those recommendations so that the slate of candidates that you're putting forward is primarily property owners or entirely property owners, however the board decides to bring that forward to council. But the language in the operating plan and why you see the recommendation is trying to be consistent with state statute.
Was there any implication though from council that they were wanting more of a community representation, not to follow business owners and or property owners? That was in discussions, right? It had to be a general. I think the premise in that idea, as tenants of buildings or owning real estate, the taxes that accrue to us is due to the taxes paid by building owners or the tenants paying rents to the landlords to be able to offset those taxes. That's kind of the catch-22. This, if it goes the other way, there could be jeopardies in the fact of it, the council wanting to sabotage and load up the board with people just to raise taxes and offset the city's responsibilities. I mean, in 10 years, we can be paving the sidewalks or paving the roads. No offense, Dave. He's just sitting there thinking, yes. But I mean, those things can happen.
So I think that's where the
Worst case scenario.
that's where the conversation started about a year ago. I think that was the interest of a few council members to kind of explore if that is something that it should be doing. I think the resolution that was passed, does speak to that in the sense that they're gonna give great weight to the board's recommendation of who should be there. I think that has kind of surpassed at this point. Would they like to see it? Probably. If it came out and you guys voted for, maybe someone from the neighborhood association to be on here or whatever. But I think at this point, the resolution speaks to it. Kate actually was involved in writing the original resolution, which was amended. Do you have any more insight? I would just say that, like, what you're describing is definitely the worst case scenario.
Worst.
Yeah, and certainly, that would be very unfortunate, but like, as community members and like citizens of this community, like, you have letters to control who makes those decisions, right? And so that there's always that. It's my opinion that is absolutely not the interest of the council, and that businesses have sort of proven themselves to be an entity that the council should be listening to and be in partnership with throughout the last year. So that's my opinion, but even in the worst case scenario, there's always democracy.
So to kind of bring this full circle, so Dave, you've been, we handed over the operating plan to you to kind of work through, and how comfortable are you moving forward with the one you've been working on versus us staying still with the one that just has currently been existing for 40 years?
And I was waiting for opinions from other people on the board too. I don't know that we have to have it to contract with decking, but it's certainly an upgrade and it's probably something we needed. I'm more comfortable here than like the North Barstow did. They just got rid of their bylaws, and incorporated stuff into their operating plan. This refers to membership in the bylaws, which controls the way this board operates and the way that this board wants to operate. And in order for this board to change the bylaws, it takes a 2/3 vote, which is 10 of us. So, I do feel like that gives us some protection here. And if something happened and quite honestly, right, we talked, there was talk of the council wasn't gonna appoint one of our members at one point. Well, this board would have been pretty upset about that. And this board could have decided not to spend any money downtown. We can do a lot of things. if something like that were to happen, I think we do have. So I feel like I am more comfortable now than I was.
And I just want to mention, Kate did prepare kind of a comparison sheet of your bylaw or your original operating plan and then kind of the change it. So it breaks it down a little bit easier. It's in your packet if you want to look at it while you guys continue to discuss.
I think, yeah, truly, so we can't obviously vote on it today, but I think the idea or the hope when we meet next is that we do all agree after we've all had a chance to look through all these notes, but that we do agree to work with the plan that Dave's put so much time into. And you've gotten all your questions answered and, yeah.
And I think just for data for the full board, the exec committee, Dave has looked at not just the old plan, but he's looked at what was proposed by the city, which I believe is a draft from the city of Madison's plan. He's looked at North Barstow bid. We've all examined the differences, the features, and tried to keep it as close as we could to the original operating plan. There's few changes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work done there, and I think that we do need to move forward with an update. I think there's some positive things. I think us keeping the bylaws as part of the operating plan just holds our personal board to the standard of keeping those 9 business owners. While we can't legally have that in there, we can at least, as a board, hold ourselves to that standard. So, if there's any other questions?
Okay, Alex, did Becky write up that what's new, what changed? Thank you. That's really helpful.
Very helpful. Okay. And then the only thing to this that I'm just gonna sideline comment, we did get an email, I believe, on this, and if you hit reply all, we are at bounds for a walking forum. So never hit reply all if you get an email that's sent to the full board. That's just a nice reminder. We're not gonna go to jail or anything, I don't think, but it's okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. She's got bigger issues. All right. So we can move on from operating plan. If you guys.
If anybody has any questions, should call us or email us.
Yeah, and Dave's specific. He's been
And we
handling.
we can address questions in this. And certainly if you want the red line copy, you can have that. It's pretty busy for us.
I think it'll be great to move forward. So again, at this next meeting, we'll just vote to adapt it, the new one that Dave has worked on. So that should be pretty easy. Same with the bid bylaws, excuse me. Any other questions? Can we move on? Great. Okay, so the next one that we are going to move on to is the DECI presentation. Do you guys have any more discussion on bylaws? Yeah, they kind of.
Number 6,
Do you guys want to talk about bylaws? I have no questions if anybody else.
You want to talk about bylaws?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess we're talking about bylaws.
Just briefly, we just took out a lot of the stuff that really maybe wasn't applying to city policy now, and we defined more clearly how we recommend members. We redefined about the training in there, some of those things, roles, and it did definitely talk about membership in here. Term of board members, we're gonna talk about this when we get to elections, because something messed up there. We have 5 seats that are up for election each year. This year we can only find 4, so we need to do some research on that. And let's see what the last thing was, and Janessa, I think helped out on here. Article 9, member and officer liability. We had done these bylaws years ago, and we basically didn't have any help doing them and stuff, and they were all approved and stuff. But this time here, we had legal come through and help us out. But this is defining that we are covered by the city's directors and officers liability and stuff in here. And I think it's important for board members to know that. That's the only thing I really wanted to.
Was the 5th one John?
There was only 4 up this year, but
Did you include Jill in that? Because she was filling a seat.
she fell down. Yeah.
We can get to that when we get to it.
Yeah, I think we have.
Any questions on the bylaws? It does. I feel like having this in there as an addendum on the operating plan protects this group, as well as we can, and giving them services.
I think you had one other update that was changing
So if you would have a vacancy, like when John left and you didn't have an election yet, that your quorum would be set at 51% of the remaining active members. So that you wouldn't need to hold quorum at a higher number when you have less directors on your board. Yeah, we talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, the bylaws as proposed would say a quorum shall consist of greater than 50% of the current appointed board members. So if you have a vacancy, then we don't have to meet greater than.
Okay. Are we good to move on from bylaws? Fantastic. Okay, so moving on, so deck presentation. So I just want to remind you, and again, it's in your previous meeting minutes. You guys, as the full board, all approved the exec committee to move forward and work on a contract with Decky that we would be bringing back to you. There's two parts to the whole process. The first being that we have to have an MOU written up with Decky themselves. And the next part would then be that contract. And like I said earlier, that's going to explain a lot more of the detailed work that we, see fit. Today, what we are agreeing to is the MOU with Decky. And this just gets the party started for us to start working with them finally. It is in my interest that we can come together and see this relationship start and get this MOU signed and get started working with Decky. This has been a conversation that we've had for over a year. I think it's been dragging out personally. I think in lieu of the work that they can provide and the work that we've done and as volunteers don't really need to be doing, I think this relationship is important. You guys have also, you sat me on the Decky board. And so real time, I get to sit there on their board on a monthly basis, volunteer, hear all the things they're doing, see all the work they're doing. And I can assure you that I am more than satisfied that what they are providing to us is probably more than we're actually giving. I think I would like us to give a lot more respect to the amount of conversations that have happened, the information that you guys have provided, and the questions that we've had. We've given a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of conversation to that, and I think we just need to move forward. So with that being said, that is where I would like to see this go. Again, this is just first part. We agree to this MOU. And then exec committee still gets to work on that contract with Decky.
I just want to clarify, so the MOU is actually the contract, and then you want an addendum to it that would
We could
get
work on
really specific on how we would be either spending your money, which categories we'd have control of, which we wouldn't. So just a correction.
Yep. That's, very fair. Thank you. So yeah, there is more that we can work on to this, an addendum, like you said. I want to give you guys the floor to speak as Decky. And then we're going to ask them to leave the room so we can have a discussion and not make it awkward if anybody has anything to say. But if you guys are okay with that, we'll let Decky speak.
Hi.
You guys all know them.
I feel like you've been through this kind of a few times, so I'm not gonna bore you with all the things. But ultimately, the way that once Decky has separated from the city to become fully independent nonprofit, we're looking at kind of changing the way that we provide service to the city to make life easier for you all, and then to help us get more work done. So ultimately, the biggest difference from Decky under the city to Decky now is that we have the ability to go out and kind of be a little bit more nimble, move more swiftly. So what I'm looking for is for the same amount of money you've been giving us for a decade, we will take some of that money to basically go out and get the contracts for the services that you are providing to the downtown. The biggest, I would say the biggest advantage to working with Decky through an MOU like this will give us the opportunity to not have to follow the strict rules of payment procurement guidelines for the city. What that means, it's not just a matter of I don't want to go out and get quotes. We'll still go out and get quotes for you. If you want to look into different landscaping services or different lighting vendors, we'll go do that for you. The biggest part is that in order for you guys to actually accomplish new project programs under city payment procurement guidelines, you would have to come to meet and vote on all of these things once they're presented. So you can see how in 12 months of the year, you will have to be meeting more available, to make things happen. What you can do today is decide that you want to authorize Becky to be your service provider. We go out and handle kind of all the nuances that match up with your budget and your operating plan for what you want to accomplish this year. Landscaping, lighting, exploring new lighting options, banners, holiday decor, events, all of that. We can basically go out and be your liaison with the vendors, get them hired, get them paid out in real time for the work they're doing. So they're not waiting months to get paid or waiting for an approval, or if there's a missed invoice or a missed signature. A lot of the vendors you do work with are small business owners. These are not, major construction companies that have depth of credit, and are able to go out and do these things. They would appreciate getting paid in real time for the work they're doing. And so that's another benefit. I'd like to open up the questions. I think you guys are all pretty well versed on kind of what we're trying to do here. I should also mention and just remind that we did enter this type of agreement with North Barstow at the end of March of this year. And Julia Johnson did attend the last executive board meeting to speak of the value that it's created, not for just her, but for her board and for her district. We've accomplished more in North Barstow this year than we have in the last 5, strictly due to the things I just explained. Missed meetings, not getting information fast enough, not being able to get quotes turned in. So it's worked really well. Again, I just want to remind you, because I think something that gets a little confusing is the money in your budget that we would spend is not going to Decky at all for any reason. Okay, that is just our pool of money of yours to spend on projects with vendors. That will not go into our bank account for any reason. The $20,000 that you would provide to enter in the service contract is the money that's paid to Decky to do the work. So I just really want to make that clear, so you're not thinking, well, I don't want to get Decky $178,000. You can do this better on our own. That's not it. I'm just handling your money for an agreement of $20,000 for providing service to you.
I did just want to say to that, right? Because I think I even was confused at one point. We have the 40,000 that we would typically give to Decky. We've already satisfied the 20,000 with sponsorships. So this MOU only pertains to that 20,000 administrative. The other 20,000 administrative. So that's really what this is. The second thing to it that was really important, at least to me, and that we had talked about exec level, is keeping our committees. And so that we still, maybe we don't meet as often, but we still wanted, it was important that we kept the committees just to have those discussions and be able to bring feedback back to Decky. So it doesn't feel like we're just handing everything over and not really still having a say. That was, I guess, kind of important to us. And there still would be a say, but that was just, I guess, something that we wanted to explore.
Yeah,
continuing.
absolutely. I should mention too that North Barstow, the way they did it, they only have an executive committee. They don't have multiple, but basically they deemed the chair, it could be any representative, but the chair as basically the person who signs off and everything. So again, I'm not going out and spending your money with vendors that you don't know about on projects you don't know about. Everything is approved by a representative of your board, and you can set that up however you see. It could be the committee chairs for specific projects, or it could be the chair of the board.
Yep.
So again, it's all driven by the board. I'm just your little worker bee to get it done. I also just want to mention that Water Street has agreed to enter in a service agreement with Decky, as well as North Barstow, and West Grand is having a meeting next week where they'll determine that as well, and it looks like they'll be doing it too. So another just advantage that makes Decky's life easier would be to also have you on board. It allows us to be even more I would say nimble in the fact that if we're using a vendor amongst all 4 bids, we're going to get cost savings there. Thomas Lee Lighting does banners in all the bids and is looking to do some in West Grand this year. They'll come out with one lift for 1 or 2 days. That fee will be split amongst the 4 bids. So you can see why there will be advantages as well to working with crossover vendors. Many of their projects are very similar to projects that are being done within the other bids, and North Barstow being on the exact same street. We're looking for more consistency there. they're looking to match up with kind of what you guys have done and invest that way. And so certainly it'll be a collaborative approach toward making our downtown viable place that people want to live.
I also just wanted to mention, and we can ask questions before we ask you guys to step out if you don't mind. This isn't like we're entering into an agreement for the rest of our lives. If this somehow is not working and we don't see this right for our board, we have those options to change things. I mean, this is a 1-year contract,
30 day.
30-day notice.
Yeah, so if in 30 days after we start, you guys hate it, you can get out.
I think that would be a disservice, but yes. So just, yeah, knowing that there's definitely ways that we can adjust with this. I think we don't know what we don't know until we start working with it. You know, we've had a lot of questions, but gotten all those answered. So I want to open it up to questions and then we can have them step away. Anybody have any questions or can we just start working with them already?
But one question, just wanted everybody to relay to is that Aaron did mention, we asked the question is this contract set in stone or is it open for amendments? Because we're all kind of learning this as we go along. And she indicated it should be open for amendments.
Absolutely. We want to figure out what works best for you. And this is kind of a template provided so that adjustments can be made. And so, yeah, we're open. We want to serve you best. Obviously, I know South Mercer District really well, just from my history of being here. So I have a good kind of working knowledge of where you guys have been and your goals. But certainly we want to make it match up with what you hope to get out of this agreement.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it's just like that whole 15-minute conversation we had regarding like the watering and the landscaping. So by picturing this, and this is on your list, you just do the action, but would we potentially avoid that conversation for the full board in the future? Would that be on your list? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. One thing I didn't mention was that we recently just hired 2 new staff positions. So Kate's position is, it's pretty clear. She's the strategic and civic communications coordinator. One of our goals is to establish an open channel from DECI to the city for all the things we need to do. And really, so Kate's going to be instrumental in that, already has played a really significant role in getting information where it needs to be and answers for people. So our goal would be that we kind of navigate that piece so that you all don't have to, and then of course keep you informed of, and then of course advocate too for what your concerns and needs are. We already wrote down that we want to get Stephanie to have a chat about when we're going to have this meeting. She's mentioned it multiple times, and so I think we're looking to develop DECI on that civic end of things and Kate's role to kind of navigate these bigger issues, not just work on getting science in the ground, but work on how that system will work long-term. So that when you guys are no longer in the board, we can have a system that works, board members in the place. And so it's gonna change, it's gonna be organic as we kind of figure it out. But that's kind of the role for her. And then we do also have another staff member who is taking on some of what Matt did with events and promotions, but also is going to be working as DECI admin, which will be also supporting the bids in some capacity.
Travis?
It's just a comment. Go ahead.
You heard them nice.
I don't know if anyone works as hard as you do for DECI. Thank you for what you do. And I think I already know the answer to this. Does this agreement outlive you? Like in terms of looking at DECI long-term, DECI's gone through a lot of changes in the last few years. This would outlast you and your vision.
I wouldn't say this specific contract would. I think this is a really good starting place so that by the time we get to budget season for 2026, moving into 27, we'll have a better understanding of how these pieces all work together and maybe can clear this up even more. One of the big things that happened is that previous to this year, we were just deemed a sole source provider for the type of work we do. So that eliminates the need for the bid to have to go out to RFP to hire an organization like us to do this work for you. There simply just isn't another organization currently that does this. So that's a huge change, which also opens up for us kind of the ability to do a little bit more within the contract, right? We don't have to be quite so rigid in what we're looking for. I think
I'd like to see this as an organic work that comes to kind of a whole picture. You know, it'd be idealistic to say by the end of next year, but I mean, I really think we'll have a much better idea of how this partnership or triangle works after we get a full year to do that. Even this last year working with North Barstow, there's so many hiccups because we weren't able to start fresh January 1. And the goalposts kind of kept moving the whole year. So my hope would be that once we get written down clearly through an MOU also with the city, we'll have the best idea of what we're able to do for you and what is gonna serve you best, but that needs to happen too. So, that's why I kind of told Steve that we can change things as we learn more. So.
Lois, did you have that?
Yeah, you said, you know, this would put all the bids for downtown Montclair sort of in the same, we'd be able to save money, we'd be able to save resources. And so then, is that going to be reflected in the budget? You know, hopefully, like within another year of doing this, will we be able to see those costs?
Yeah, so my thought, the best example would be the possible continuation of the contract with Converge Radio. So North Barstow is very interested in installing a speaker system, just like South Barstow, that would extend in their district. It's not gonna cost Converge any more to service both of you, or not much more, unless you have different maybe messaging you want. So instead of spending 7,500, or sorry, 1,500, 15,000 a year. It's possible that that would reduce to about 10,000, because you'll be splitting the cost with more. So that's a good way. Then ultimately you can decide if you want to lower your mill rate and adjust to that budget, or does that give you an additional $2,500 that you want to look at expanding a different program? And again, these things I think will baby step take time, but the more that we're gonna share that, even like I said, the lift costs of every time you come out to do a banner change, that's gonna be split in half because North Barstow is gonna be doing banner changes at the same time. And then if Water Street's doing banner changes at the same time, now it's split in thirds. So, I think we'll see it. I think it's gonna take a little time to like really feel it, but, goal would be you have more money to spend on more initiatives.
Yeah.
I
Or to get Jackie for more staff to do more.
I think at a quick glance, there's strictly speaking of the $20,000 that we're talking about. We've always kind of just pitched up 40,000. I'm not sure if we got much back for that in the past. Speaking strictly of this $20,000, I think there's a lot of potential. And there's a lot of parameters that Erin is put into. I think we'll get a lot out of it. I think she does do a good job with coordination. It'll take a lot of like exec committee and other committees using her as like a point of contact. She can't just go up and approve stuff and just kind of talk about that. That's kind of a nice thing. That's why we want to maintain committees. If there's certain bills or certain projects, you felt relay them to us. At least all communication can go through there. I know there's been times where she'll email me or something that is an issue with the banner, there's an issue with a speaker system, and then she can kind of go and do the digging. I don't think me to do the digging. I can approve, but she can kind of get all the information needed. Present it to me, saves us a lot of time. I think you get a lot more bang for the buck for that service, for the $20,000. That being said, I think it is valuable that everyone does review the MOU, has any input. Do you have, I know we can make revisions to it. What's the time frame on that?
So we would like to have this, squared away, I would say before the end of the year. I mean, we want to start fresh with the January 1. Because we don't have to do the RFP process, it can be as quickly as that, like maybe your next meeting. I think it would make sense to make a motion to allow Nikki to like finalize any agreement. I mean, maybe it's after the exec board meets, but that you wouldn't need to have the full board come back for any kind of small revisions to the MOU. That you would either give it to the exec team or to Nikki to sign off on, so that we can do it even if you don't have another meeting scheduled. What are we in October? Love to see this done by the end of November, so we're gonna have to, if you guys decide to work with us, we will be setting up a bank account for South Barstow. We're gonna wanna have that in place with your budget in line so that we can move forward effectively January 1. You'll be paying Earthbound right away, at the beginning of the year.
So, we want to be able to know that we have the authority to do that and, get those dollars transferred, so.
In the effort of time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you guys to step out if you don't mind, and I don't, yeah, we'll give a little bit of time to this. We are gonna be finishing up before 11 today, okay? That is a promise. So let's not drag this out any further, and then, I'm gonna open up the floor to discussion. I'll just let you guys know, I have had a chance to look at this. I already had a chance to work on it, or put my input in. I feel comfortable where it's at. I am obviously here to open it up to whatever amendments that we need to make. And Dave has a ton of them, so I think maybe we just give you the floor to, put you, yeah, you got 5 minutes.
well, Make a motion to postpone it till the next meeting, till you all get a copy of the red line things, but I don't know if anybody wants to do that. And my other
It's
question.
one more
is,
meeting.
We're just doing the memo understanding, not the addendum, correct? We're not doing the addendum with this.
I mean, I don't know if we can split that up.
The addendum. Give a comment, in my opinion, and we don't have that ability yet until we approve the operating plan. So we can do an MOU right now, this one, because that basically, they would just have to follow city purchasing policy if we did this one, the one way or the other, this could. But
I do wanna,
I
yeah,
don't think we can do the addendum because we can't contract.
is that correct?
So what I would actually suggest, and just reading it, a couple of days ago after Dave expressed some concern about it, I would suggest waiting. If you're going to approve the operating plan, that gives you the ability to contract directly with Decky. You don't have to have, Dave co-signing it, on behalf of the city, and it gives you just a little bit more autonomy there. So I think, not taking action on it today, maybe authorizing you to take that action in the future if the operating plan is approved, that might be appropriate, or postponing it until that meeting when the operating plan is approved, with the understanding it would still have to go to council, but then at least
Right.
you have the certainty that the board has approved it. Might be a better way forward.
I think more than anything, I don't want to carry this conversation back to full board any longer. I think, Dave, clearly you've got some stuff to say about it. I think we've talked about it exactly.
I mean, that's me, if this is going in perpetuity, if Aaron's not there, we don't really have disclosure things put in place. I mean, we could potentially partner up with somebody without not having good auditing to wipe our accounts out. Not to say that I think it's Aaron, I'm just saying if somebody else takes it after. We don't have sometimes those systems in place to protect us as a board if that situation happens. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with, I think you're right, just, we love her.
Yeah.
But in perpetuity, we have to protect ourselves and take some time just to make sure we have good systems in place to protect us. That's how I look at it. So,
And that's my thing is Aaron and I are good friends.
Yeah, no,
I get along well, but I think to protect this board, we need to spend some time on some of these contracts that are going to do that.
I guess I'm wondering what the worry is. Like, what are we protecting ourselves from? They can't spend our money.
Well,
I mean, we're talking about disclosure. If the code is this, but
Yep.
if we have a horrible agent saying like, you can charge an extra 10, but you give me back 5.
I've got,
Those things can't happen. We would just rubber stamp them because the purchasing person is doing that and our funds are going out.
Steve?
I guess just a question too, and something I was really concerned about is that you've got Aaron, I mean, pure math. You got Aaron working full-time. You got now 2 part-time people. Are they working for nothing? No, they're working for something. So how much are they gonna do out of $20,000? Maybe that's gonna pay for one of the part-time people. Where's she paying the rent? Where is that money coming from? And I had a discussion with Aaron, and first of all, with Becky, she has a board and she has to do a full report, financial report monthly. And then Nikki was able to share that report to me, financial report, and it's very thorough. I mean, every penny is accounted for, everything is wonderful. But so the question still is that she's getting 20 from us, 20 from North, 5 from Water Street or something. I mean, how are you still getting mathematically there? And I guess my results on it, and Dave could probably share this, is that the city is giving her $80,000. to reduce the stress on their employees and their people. So that's really the load carrier for DECI is that money.
That 80 is not in bids, that's just in the city.
Yeah.
The only exception goes already out even the rest of it.
We do 20 in sponsorship,
The other 20 is for the.
20 is administrative, yeah. Mhm.
Could I run through just the changes and see which?
Sure.
If the group wants to make these changes, wants to talk about them or whatever, they're not great, but I think they define the role a little bit more.
Sure.
And some of them, I had Vanessa help me out wording on, but under obligations, if you read DECI shall perform the services below, and we added in at the direction of the bid, that's one of the changes. And then,
What page are you?
first
First page, under obligations.
yeah, under DECI, it says at the direction of the bid. And then, let's see, subject to full compliance with DECI's contract with the city of Eau Claire, approved by the city council, blah, blah, blah. And then we added in DECI shall consult and review services provided with the appropriate bid committee or executive committee at each meeting. So that's the accountability, adding them consulting with the subcommittees or the committees. That's a thing. Let's see. I had a question, develop and host a dedicated bid website, for relevant programs, updates. Is there any content guidelines on that? I guess that's a question for them. Not a change to this. Create and distribute a quarterly newsletter for downtown, contacts. As part of the DECI communications, which is listed below, they talk about that below. So they already do that, and I get it. It might be included. I would delete just, part of this. It says design advertising materials. This MOU was taken directly from North Barstow, and, our operating plan, we took out a lot of that stuff because we don't, long ago, this group decided that advertising and marketing wasn't part of the bid's mission. That was DECI's mission. I would take out design advertising materials and just say promote programs such as adopt a plan, blah, blah, blah. I would also under administrative grants and part sponsorships, that's more of a DECI thing. I don't feel like that's a bid thing at all. DECI applies for grants, DECI does those types of things, but I don't think this bid has never done that, nor probably will. And so I guess I don't think that one applies to the bid. So
I think that's referring to what's the North Barstow beautification, right? Like.
Right,
of this-
right, because it was copied right from the north, and we don't have that on there, so I don't think it applies to this one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Water Street did, we got a $25,000 grant that we wrote 20 years ago. Bid got the grant, money went to us, somebody from the city helped us do the paper.
I would say maybe just if we don't do it now, it's not as much, but we don't do it in the future.
Yeah, it doesn't help or hurt being in here. Wouldn't think.
Would there be any accountability for what the grant is for or used for? So I guess that's a question that I think the bid would want to know. Is there any accountability to bid to what type of grant this was used for? Would that come to us before they go out for it?
Can't spend our money without us knowing about it.
Okay, maybe. Okay, go on to the next one. This one I think is pretty simple, but event planning. They host 4 mix and mingles. Well, we put in there, host locations shall rotate between businesses that express an interest in hosting with no repeat locations until all interested businesses have had a turn to host. And the reason that's in there because it really doesn't define where they're doing these mix and mingles. And I know I have heard that they're favoring some businesses and they're not other businesses that do this, which it seems pretty beneficial to them. I don't think that would be anything anybody would have a problem with happening. So, I don't think there's any guidelines right now how businesses are chosen, nothing like that.
And if they those businesses have to be DECI covered? I don't think there's nothing wrong with saying that.
No, it's just it's downtown, it's not a DECI. Right, I think this is for the bid,
Yeah.
so it could be
So then it's.
anybody's a bid number down here, so
Right.
I just feel like that's a fairness thing. So that's what we put in there, chance to help with that one. Down here to under number financial oversight, under the 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet, notify the bid share when additional funds are required and ensure compliance with funding mechanisms, and then we added in, which may include authorization and approval of the bid board. So if you have extra funding stuff, that usually has to come to the full bid board. Because you can't exceed the budget without proper approval of the full board. So I think those are just defining how we operate. Term of the agreement, added in, let's see, agreement renewed annually with approval of the bid board and renewal in writing, signed by both parties. So nothing too controversial on that, just sort of defining how they do things.
I think we should make a motion to let me and Dave work out the details and approve this.
I would say the exact.
I'll second that. I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? No.
Just a motion.
Yeah.
The motion.
You shouldn't be the exact date.
That's up to you. I mean, and that's maybe part of the discussion point. Exec, do you feel like you want to have any more hands on this?
Sure.
Okay.
So the motion is that the executive committee will go through your MOA and, will make changes. The appropriate changes.
Yep, without having to come back to the full board and drag you guys through this any further. I think, you know, we all have the best interest in mind. I think, what's that?
Will we send out a red line copy of the board of what we came up with?
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
It seems like they wanted that.
I just don't know if we need to bring you guys through any further discussion. I mean, there's been a lot of conversation. Dave's clearly put in a lot of work with legal. I mean, I'd hate us to have to flood you with any more information that
It's
just
not-
deems
it's not a
unnecessary.
concern, it's just about protecting this board.
Yeah.
So,
I get it, and I think the year 2026 will be a learning curve for everyone.
100%.
So I think that when we meet in October of 26, that we can go back and be like, well, that didn't work.
Mhm.
Or this didn't work, but all these things worked, and I think it's just gonna be a learning curve.
Right.
I second your motion for the executive team work on this.
Okay. So we had a first by Lois, second by Travis. Discussion, I guess all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. All right. It's only like 14 months of conversation. I think we finally are coming to a head. This is great. It's great news. All right. Thank you guys. I think this is really going to be a positive step forward. I think from the exec committee end of things, the last year has been a lot. There's been a lot, 2 years. We put in countless hours, and a lot of this working agreement and working with Decky has a lot to do with, setting up the future. I don't think you're going to find a lot of me and Dave's and Jeremy's and Steve's that are willing to put this kind of time in. And so, having these systems in place and these contracts in order, and I think this is great. So,
And Steve, like Steve said to me, it's like, not a lot of executive people are willing to put in that kind of work. And we kind of try to set it up a little bit for the younger people. And if this really is a burden on everybody, I think it's going to be a good thing.
so Decky's been accepted, and we just are going to make a few changes with exec and get it to you like in a week.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm kidding. Whenever we get it to you, but it's going to be before the end of the year. So no more full board involvement. They have given us their blessing. So thank you guys for that. Okay, moving on. We're going to fly through committee updates, lighting. Have we got anything fun there?
Fighting, yes. This is one of the areas where, by golly, I'm trying to start delegating some stuff to Miss Erin, and Decky. We've been just struggling with the, putting canvas that grow hormone on the trees because it's so hard on our lights and stuff. And so I forwarded all the information I had from John Sable, who had worked on it, and the stuff I got before. She's now, I think, passed that on to, I can't think of the title that we have over there for Case. He's passed it on to her to work with. We're hoping that that'll save us a lot if we can make that happen. And if the city forester can't do it, then we're looking at private vendors, I believe. And again, that's the thing where I'm kind of delegated a bit to Aaron. And so, and now we're up to our last on our contract for lighting to do the repairs. That he's coming in November 10th that week. You got to rewrap at least 2 whole trees. That's all sort of budgeted. That's happening. And I did get 2 contracts signed for next year from, we did the lighting committee, whatever. And we, for, Thomas Lee for the banners, that's all signed and delivered. And so is, Green Oasis. So technically we wouldn't need, Decky for that, but I can see where Decky provides value because, they're out there checking the plugs, they're out there doing a lot of things that I'm just not gonna do. None of us on the committee are gonna do that. So I do feel there's a value there. We also are about $3,000 more, we're short in our, maintenance part of this, lighting and maintenance, because we did pay like MEI, like $2,700 to replace that outlet down there. And part of it was that they had I think, redo some conduit that was cut off with, acoustic and stuff like that. So we got it fixed. That's part of that MOU with the city where we have to figure out who's responsible for what. But, Mr. Solberg helped us out on that as far as, giving it light to our maintenance public. We're appreciative of that. So that's it for lighting.
Awesome. Landscaping. I feel like we,
Sorry, one thing.
oh, yeah.
So Thomas Lee will be coming out the same week, the week of November 10th to do your wrapped lighted garland. West Grand is getting wrapped lighted garland this year. They brought up at their last bid meeting that the Grand Avenue Bridge is actually half South Barstow bid. But they have been taking care of decorating the bridge every year. So they were hoping to have South Barstow agree to pay for half of the lighting on the bridge this next time. They're buying, I believe they're paying for all the lights and garland, like the wholesale cost of that. But in the future for the labor, they'd like to split it with you guys. Just a reminder, they're the smallest bid in the state. Their mill rate is over $5. And they only really have about 11 properties that can contribute. And so this would help them be able to kind of do more in their bids. So
We are leaving that to lighting
Yeah,
committee though.
just an update.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably should. I just wanted to give them an update that you might
Yeah.
see that. But again, consistency will be happening into North Barstow and West Grand with that same.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to landscaping. I think we talked it at some. So our pots were unbelievable this year. We really tried an effort to get some like larger bushes. We had talked about putting them closer to the sidewalk, and there is some, but I do believe she ran into a lot of rooting and trying to get around the irrigation. So not maybe as many as we were hoping for, but we're still going to be kind of working through that. Other than that, we have one more turnout. You guys will see some holiday planters going up, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's all I have for landscaping.
Entertainment?
Yeah.
So, I'll start with the band, not a whole lot of either of these, but, there'll be the change out that'll be happening in November. So we have that going on. We have a little bit of money in the accounts that's gonna be covering the change outs as well as I think we're gonna get some new like brackets and things, then are kind of on the way out. So Aaron's under control now. Perfect. As far as the music is concerned, I'm kind of beating it that first year, but the Converge contract has been $15,000 a year. The way we started it originally, it's only like 6 months. So it's been a really weird, like July to June. So this point in time, you'll see probably in the budget that we will have $7,500 left of the year. That's because we've already paid, we only had to pay for the July to December this year. Starting next year in 2026, it'll be at January to December, the full 15,000. So we have 7,500 remaining for the rest of this year, which will probably be used for new equipment. Aaron, maybe you want to speak a little bit behalf on with the city.
Yeah. So if you've noticed, there's no music out right now on the streets. When you guys got the speakers put in 12, 15 years ago, there was a computer provided by Audio Architects that is housed in the Gibson Street parking ramp.
And that's kind of where everything was running from. So, we noticed the music was out, a lot of conversations, finally got in that room. Audio architects is, did they get there or sending? No, they got there and they determined the computer is no longer gonna work for this. Technology has changed so much that it's not really like you're gonna be able to replace the computer. So we're at the point, and maybe I can let Kate speak, she just kind of had a conversation. Yeah, so basically, the city IT department is looking at options for allowing the bid to use the city's network so that we can stream the music that way. The city recently allowed this to happen in Carson Park for Express when they upgraded their kind of sound system and audio and everything. So we're looking to get an answer on if the city will allow the bid to connect. This will also impact the Barstow's ability to use the speaker system. So they're looking into all of that right now. We were hoping to have it up and running for Halloween, but it doesn't seem that it's going to be possible because we can't just replace this computer. Do you have any more to, Kate's been in conversations with a few people. So we've talked to audio architects, talked to the city.
Yeah. And it's really, it's sort of in the city's bucket right now. My IT is working on it and we'll stay in contact, sure to follow up. Make sure that work is moving forward, so.
And one other just interesting piece, the transit center has a sound system. So I was talking to Rod Bonesiel, who oversees the structures in the city, and he had mentioned that there's a possibility of the transit wanting to stream music in there. So that's also something that's kind of getting looked at alongside what we need to do to get the speakers back up and running. Dave, did you have something?
I just, did you say, working on it now?
The only piece I would add to it is, since it has been a yearly contract going forward in 2026, the entertainment committee discussed, let's go with probably just getting billed quarterly or pay quarterly, with the hopes that sometime later next year with North Barstow coming on board, we'll only pay hopefully 10,000 for the whole year versus 15. So just changing the quarterly payments.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I guess moving on from our updates, we've got street ambassadors here. I did put this on our agenda. We briefly talked about it at our last full board meeting, and I don't know if we had a lot of people there or whatever it felt like, but I just wanted to kind of revisit now that we have you guys here and our officer downtown who just does so much work for us with that too. So I just wanted to, I put this on here. There was a board member that had asked that, could we have a small discussion on it and how's it going? How does everybody feel about it? Does anybody want to kind of open up the table, how they've seen the street ambassador work to improve what's happening in our district?
Yes, I can open up. The 700 block of South Barstow, 600 block of South Barstow, the parking lot has been getting maintained a lot better since the spring. The garbage is being controlled by you guys, and I think you're moving people along to a more productive area throughout the day rather than laying on the sidewalk. But I know that, the daytime shelter, I guess we're wondering kind of where that time's at, but otherwise, yeah, in the spring, my property was unrentable. Now it's viable, so appreciate it.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I apologize, I'm going like 10 minutes. So last week or 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we have been walking around downtown and handing out flyers to help differentiate when to call law enforcement, when to utilize block by block. That should have gotten electronically disseminated as well through Aaron, but we have talked to a lot of business owners that hadn't heard of the program yet or didn't know that the program was a free service for them, through the end of the contract. And so doing some education and active education, I think that will help as well with some of the utilization and we've learned a lot of kind of concerns as well that block by block can hopefully address the police department and having those conversations. So they've been going out actively with the police department and other city entities to kind of do that cleanup in that Cedar Street lot area, Wilson Park area, and we will be shifting that collaborative effort with every that's participating. I think Solberg got a statement now, Stephanie Hirsch. That's occurring once a week now and will continue to occur through the winter months and hitting those problem areas in downtown and making sure that we're as an entire city entity going out and addressing the concerns of those individuals in those areas, talking to them, cleaning those areas, making sure that it's a safe space for everybody to utilize, and block by block maintaining those areas in between that.
And then is it my understanding that we've got day shelter opening up December? And do you guys kind of anticipate, so then the temporary does close, so do we anticipate Wilson, that parking lot kind of, I guess, cleaning up even more?
Things shift from the summer period, weather and it's rainy, and so that's where I talk about kind of us shifting, right, the needs, that will be seasonally, and we will be shifting as well, and I think that we're gonna see potentially in this area as well, like an uptick in traffic, with the Date Resource Center opening up. Still believe slotted for December.
I was thinking, tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, that's definitely sooner rather than later, and another fundraising campaign.
Got it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Dave, maybe, and when the new shelter opens up, right now they're in that old pawn shop and next door is Say Yes Ministry. And she's kind of taken over some of the load, I guess. And when the daytime shelter opens up and they evacuate there, I don't know if her lease is ending where she's at. I know she's aggressively trying to find another place. I mean, to me, it seems like we got conflicting interests.
Yeah, I'm not sure what her lease and what her intentions are for the ministries next to it, but I do know that the use of those buildings are on a temporary basis. So there's gonna have to be significant investment in those buildings to be used further. So I would anticipate that both activities in both towns that are there now, neither of those will remain after the resource center opens up.
But would the code be, it has to be a daytime adult shelter, or what would the code requirement be?
I don't believe that they would be allowed to sleep. I think is the key for that.
So there's bathroom requirements with so many people and that kind of stuff. That would fall on this.
Yes, some people are involved in stuff. It was, yeah, they're under a temporary use right now for temporary, occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
John?
Will there be sleeping in this new?
No.
So.
What they're gonna do is put recliners.
Oh.
Bench your things.
Well, no, the cross does this now. So how you get around having sleeping situations, you put recliners, so they're not technically sleeping. They're just.
But they'll actually close the doors.
Look,
That's in the evening over here.
that's how you get around it.
But yeah, when we had, like, during COVID, we did the overnight shelter, there was no official sleeping there, but.
So they'll move from there down to.
Sojourner, or they'll be service providers at the resource center, and, you know, the hope is that the LSSs, the Western Dairylands, the providers will be able to help, guests at the resource center, so they're getting out of the sojourners, and they're getting the help that they need for that.
How much larger is the capacity at the new place?
I'm not sure what the total, but it's a lot bigger over there, and it'll be run by Hope Gas Position, so they run a very good program out on the west side. So it's not, you come in and you just sit and play a pool or stuff, you're in there and you're receiving help and so forth. So.
Do you guys have anything to say? I mean, since you've sat through our whole meeting, unfortunately. I want to give you an
Well,
opportunity.
thank you for letting us be here and be a part of your guys' city. We love the downtown, that's why we're here. We want to make things look better. I've driven to Uber for 7 years and you can see an improvement. That's what really matters, is that you can see it and it's not just be it, but feel it as well. And I understand it's being felt, and that to me is what matters. And we're only here until February of 2027, just to keep that in mind. And please, if there's anything we can do, just ask us. If it's not something we can or cannot do, we can actually put it up to the individual where it may be able to be done or get it the right individual. So is there any concern you guys have specifically? We do garbage, we do unhoused. If there's somebody sleeping in an area, we can clean up feces and biohazard and all kinds of stuff. We can power wash the front part of the sidewalk, not sadly not your building because it is private property. But we can do like the sidewalk up front of your building. If you see an individual, you can call us for a wellness check instead of the PD. We are a lot bigger. We ask them, really nice big food truck. Can't miss it for a while. I'm sure you guys can drive around. We can come out and meet that individual where they are and try to help them. If for some reason we can't, we can either instruct your employees or you as a business owner, if we're inside of your business, to contact PD, or if we're outside, we can go to ourselves. So I just want to make sure we're pretty clear what we can do for you guys.
I did just want to say, I've not been shy about calling your number. And for little things, and I would say every one of them has been responded to. I wouldn't say, at first it was maybe a little slower moving, but like definitely now, I mean, it's like anything I've said, it's like taken care of and hearing from, concerning areas like the 700 block and hearing that they're actually getting some help and support over there is like, means everything to me for our district. So thank you.
Before Bridget goes, is it possible to pull any sort of metrics in terms of emergency calls that are coming in or reduction of calls since block by block has been affected in this area or any sort of, because I can talk to like our front desk staff and they're like, oh yeah, we call cops way less often now, but that's like a feeling and not necessarily a number. So is there a way that the police department or dispatch can quantify what that might look like?
I, racking my brain as you're asking this question. I don't feel like we could do that specifically to say like, prior to block by block implementation is it, but we are having metrics now, we're diverting calls to block by block if appropriate. So if somebody calls dispatch and says like, yeah, we just want this person checked on, or they're kind of acting strange, or there's like a male in the, in the stairwell, and we will divert that to block by block as appropriate. So I should be able to pull those numbers. Okay. And then Stephanie, they do have a smart system that they can show the numbers of calls they're responding to. So you can jump in.
Numbers would be really helpful just to understand.
Yes.
It's actually picked up in about the last 2 months, so getting you those numbers now is a little bit more difficult. So probably by all next year, we'd have a better understanding of what's actually going on. It's probably from 2 months that we've been actually getting the big calls from the PD, like there's this person down here at the Border Riverside, there's this person over here. We've actually had him call us a couple times when it was out of our district. And we've actually went and checked just to be on the safe side, but it's the PD calling us, so what happens when you're finding one out? But we go, we're done. That's what it is.
That'll be a discussion that we'll have in, budget time in the city council, and whether it's all city or whether it's other partners, whether the county gets involved in one ask that we're gonna have, the bids maybe at, I know, one in New Orleans, the ambassador program down there is funded by bids, not to say that the bid has, $400,000 a year, but it may.
Your mill rates are going. No.
So, Stephanie's point and to Nikki's point, if you're finding value in it, and if there are things that aren't working, it will be a very difficult discussion with the council on them. Yeah, we have resounding feedback from business owners that, yeah, they were okay, but I don't really know that they're working the bang for the buck for it. So try to utilize it, and I just had the same discussion with Stephanie, make sure that this program is successful if there's any chance for it to continue. I apologize, I have to leave.
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, we're like in the last 5 minutes here. I have parking and transit update on there. Honestly, I checked in with Ty.
We're working with a private party to possibly have a transfer of that off of the public road, private road, and I would say open, potentially the lower deck if that doesn't come to fruition. Then it will be closed. We'll have underground parking for a little while, but that office and beyond would be in the house, especially the cool off. But we're working with Black on how to, and the police department to mitigate that. So there is a plan in place for that. Paid on-street parking starts June 1st. We're looking at hiring a parking administrator as soon as possible. There's some internal things with the city, but as soon as we get the go-ahead from finance, we're going to post that position, and they'll focus on enforcement through the end of the year, and then January 1st, We have money, if the council approves it, for a consultant and town forester or approve the equal to help with the starting up. Be kind of a mentor to the parking administrator and also work on getting the rollout of the new parking system.
Thank you.
Paid parking lot to a good start. So that'll be heating up over the winter. Still want to get those parking start maybe a monthly or every 6 week parking committee that the city would try to take the lead on to talk about loading zones, other things with the parking study to implement, what we can do for, lower income wage earners in the districts for parking relief, potentially lower cost brand gases or whatnot. So we're working on that transit, they're in the transit building, they're operating, everything seems to be going smoothly from what I've seen. There is also microtransit, if you're not aware of it, it just comes into downtown, but it focuses mostly on the north side, but that's basically like a transit division sponsored, Uber. So if you live in those zones with microtransit, if you want to get picked up at your house at 6 o'clock at night, it will transport you, so you walk to the bus stop and you're going down. I mean, it's a trial for a year, I believe. That may be the future of transit, if it's successful. If it's not, we'll stay with fixed route, for that. And the apartments, I believe, on top of the transit center are scheduled to open. Yeah.
He just said spring and
March. It
yeah.
was supposed to be in December, but I don't think they're gonna make it, but early next year, so. And then, at that point, we'll look at the Schlegel Belch. I don't believe that will be offered up for development at least next year, but there's been some discussion on that, so revert, the current half will be free parking, and we'll look at when we take up the transit center portion of it. Having additional parking there, and then we're looking at, now that the transfer center is open, the Cedar Street lot, former Four Corners lot and Main Street lot were all free during construction, until, just recently. So we're looking at having meters and hourly parking back in the Cedar Street lot, and we'll be before the transit center started, and potentially in the Main Street lot, that's just down the street from City Hall. This is the one that's at the corner of Farmville and Main Street. Okay, that's it.
Civic Center ramp, anything on that?
Yeah, still have to come down, we're trying to work together, a little more on what kind of future plans are with the convention space and stuff. We only own, the right of way to put it, and then where the fountains are, and then the Lismore, owns we're renting areas over the convention center, all over the parking lots, so we have to work together. And that will largely with what future plans are with that hotel and the convention center will gauge sizing and stuff for that. So Leah's been working with them. I've had a couple of meetings with Julie and Zach.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, I got parking all the 5 minutes.
Oh, that's right. No. And I wanted to let you guys know, I'll speak a little to parking too, because we didn't talk about the Gray Street spots that we lost, but anybody, which is a lot of us affected down on our end, we are losing parking like crazy, and it's actually very concerning. We lost the 3 spots out in front of, on Gray Street, in front of the transit center. We're losing 150 spots on Grand Riverside. We have potentially no potential of any spots in the transit center, and they want to redevelop Schlegel Milch. So I'm trying to, I don't know, it's bad. Not a conversation we need to get into today, but it's definitely high on my radar, as well as maybe everyone else's who's down there. But we're going to be left with nothing if we're not careful. So
And they're charging.
But you'll have to
Yeah.
pay down.
but then you can just pay for it if you find a spot. Yeah. Anyway, I also included the CIP. I just like to keep including this in the packet because I want you guys to be, it's just, I guess, the only way we can market what might be coming up so we don't keep getting hit with surprises. I guess we have city updates and announcements. City kind of left unless you have anything.
Nothing.
Perfect. The 2 announcements that I wanted to make, first of all, is Kate's email. What is it? Civic@engagement.
No,
Civic.
at downtown fair.
If you guys have any questions towards Decky, we're trying to route all about bid information to that website. So if you need to reach out, that's who to reach out to for now. And then just our board, I think you guys got a list of what we have. So there's 4 seats up. I have reached out to all 4 of those people. And there was only 4 on here.
And we have to research that, because it's in the bylaws, it has to be 5, there's 15 people, we missed somebody someplace.
We have, files from, we can go back and check rosters and see what happened. Something must have just got entered wrong.
There's
Well, we need to find that out then.
2027 for 6 people.
Yeah, also, we'll pull that up. Yeah.
So look it up.
Let's do it.
We need to know, appointments committee or whatnot, city needs to know by November 12th. So we only have a couple weeks to dig through this information, but the other 4 do know. They've either let me know or not, but, yeah. So that's all I have there. We might have some new, potential seats open. So if you guys do know of anybody, we are routing them to Jackie's website, you guys? No, city website only?
A resource bank for the bid.
The resource bank.
But we do have a link on the Decky page for bids to get right to the resource bank. So if anyone's interested, you can easily find it on.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a link that's probably easier to find on the Decky website. Yeah. And then I'm gonna pass these around and then let Erin finish.
Oh, you printed them. You were gonna print them first.
You did it.
Oh, we printed blank sheets first. I'm not remembering. Okay, so,
You guys want to take one for your business, pass it around?
I just want to comment on what Nikki said about the CIP, just so you're aware, North Barstow was coordinating with Becky and the city of Eau Claire, a conversation on November 17th about projects that will be happening in North Barstow bid, so that they don't, take time at the bid meeting and share only information with everyone. So we're planning something like that for them. Leonettes will be there to kind of answer questions and then just, hear from businesses about their concerns for any upcoming projects. It is something that we can help, South Barstow do if you guys are interested. Leah wanted to wait until after budget was passed, by council so that she could better kind of gauge like what projects will be happening in the next year and then of course down the line. So, not that you're, you're close to North Barstow Bid, Joe, you might want to come. But again, that format could be replicated for your district if you're interested, but I just want to know. And then, obviously, this weekend is trick or treat, Saturday, October 25th. Just a reminder that last year we officially switched the date to be the Saturday before Halloween. We've had some feedback from businesses that aren't bid directors that are not normally open on weekends and they don't like the shift at all because they feel like they can't be part of it.
Why don't they just show up then?
We responded, Kate, I think you did, or someone did, just to let you guys know, again, the bid was very concerned about continuing to have trick or treat on the 31st because it brought people down to park for 2 hours and then kind of none of the businesses that were open actually had customers come in. It also created an incredible amount of things for parents to have to kind of do all in one day. This is pretty typical of other communities where they have a separate event. If we look to grow the event in any capacity, it is much better for us to host it on a weekend like this. Last year, it was like 70 degrees, it was morning, and we saw a lot of people stayed in the downtown after to enjoy lunch and go shopping, and that's our goal. So if you do have people asking you, please share kind of why, and we don't have any desire to move it back to the 31st.
Woo!
Goal again is to engage people in the downtown, but keep them here and have them learn about your businesses and not just kind of send them home to go do it again. We also saw an increase in the amount of people attending. Last year, Becky handed out over 3,500 pieces of candy. We were the last business standing and there were still people in line. So just expect that. But more so what we saw is we saw older groups and families come out and rather than just the young kids. So that was kind of nice too. Anyway, that's happening. If you haven't already signed up for trick or treat, you are still welcome to get out there and hand out candy. We do have an online map, so it's just a benefit to you to get your business kind of out there in that way. We also have the spooky storefront competition going on. I think we had about 15 businesses that are involved in that. So from now until the end of the month, you and community members can walk around and vote on their favorite. The winner gets 2 tickets to the Duckies Awards, annual awards event, and gets a special prize, zombie duck. Again, get out and get your votes in for that.
And then the last piece I'd like to talk about, is that, working with some South Barstow business owners, Decky is partnering, with them to create a new holiday, promotion, I would say, kind of an extended event, called Cozy Night Out. We're gonna be getting information to you or just kind of finalizing the back end details so we can make sure that we have like sign up lists ready to go. But the goal for this would be to encourage shopping local and downtown, gearing up to the holiday season. So it's gonna be the Friday before small business or Black Friday. Let me just grab
So it's Black Friday.
Yep.
It is the Friday before that. And then it is 2 Fridays after, and we're skipping a Friday because of the Clearwater.
winter break. So yeah.
So businesses can, may I start?
No,
Yeah, so businesses can opt in to be open until 8 PM. And you can do all 3, you can do 1, you can do 2, but consumers will know that you're open by luminary, which Decky's working on.
you got it.
Yeah, I found some in my basement. Okay.
We have 24 lanterns, so either for some for serve or Decky member businesses, I don't know that we'll have more than 24 businesses, but we'll be giving you a luminary to put outside or in your window so that it kind of feels like a connected event.
Yep, and so if like for retailers or restaurants or churches, whatever you, for example, I might have hot cider and gingerbread cookies available, or there might be like a special pop-up at your shop or your salon or whatever during those hours. It's coordinated with, the Black Friday one is, Coolie Boys is performing, so maybe they're gonna have dinner and then they can get some of their holiday shopping done and then go to the show. So just to promote some wintertime outside cozy, and then with the added visual of the luminaries, signifying that you're open.
And so Decky will have a sign up for that. Again, like Jill said, you can sign up for 1 or all 4 or 2. But the really most important part is that you let us know what your special pop-up or promotion is so that we can help market that out over the course of the month to get interest in shopping local. Decky is also working on a small business Saturday campaign to market this area and your specific businesses. So we'll be working on that in conjunction with this. So really exciting, came out of kind of an interest of the businesses in your district, and we just want to help support and market that out. But each business can do, micro event, what works for them. We hope to build this into our programming year after year, and kind of make it easy to do again. When Jill started up the International Day of Women, we did something similar. So hopefully we can continue to work with you and make sure we're getting people downtown. So that's happening. Sign up.
Any other announcements? It is 10:58. I promised you all before 11. We'll call this meeting done, adjourned. Thank you.
On the website.